Hey, hello from the West Coast, or as everyone else calls it, the left coast. I'm CharLee Simons here, broadcasting live from California. You're watching Do Not Talk, talking about two things you're never supposed to talk about, politics and religion, but also talk about things you're never supposed to talk about and talk to people I'm not supposed to talk to. That's what this show's all about. Do not talk? Well, I do. And I'm glad you're here. And I thank you so much for taking the time and subscribing, following. Subscribe on YouTube, if you would. And at Do Not Talk. CharLee Simons presents Do Not Talk. Also on Rumble. Rumble.com/Do Not Talk. There it is. Follow the channel. And if you like, and if you comment, and if you share these shows, that all helps with the whole algorithm thing. So thank you for everyone who's watching live right now. I've got a great guest for us today named John Graham. John Graham is an author and quite an adventurer, and I'm looking forward to hearing some of his stories. He's affiliated with giraffe.org. Giraffe.org. We'll find out more about that in a second. But, you know, there's supposed to be a big debate tonight. We got a big governor's race happening 2026 here come November, but we got to get through the primaries. And there's jungle primaries here in California, which means the top two vote getters go to the final election. Now, that has all but ruined the Republican Party in California. It's absolutely brilliant on the part of the Democrats to come up with this whole jungle primary thing to where they just know as long as they get the illegals and they pad the ballot box and do the mail-in ballots and all that kind of stuff, that Democrats will just keep winning because they'll always be the top two vote getters. It's not split up by party. Oh, by the way, it wasn't the Democrats who came up with that. Let that sink in. Thanks, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What a great idea. Anyway, it's pathetic. And I hope the first thing, if Lord willing, we get a Republican governor, this finally, almost 20 years later, finally get one. I hope that one of the first things they do is get rid of that jungle primary. I don't know how, but I hope they do, because it's appalling. It's ridiculous. So there's a big debate going on tonight. It's down in SoCal, USC putting it on. And, I'm sorry, just got notice that it's been canceled.
So I'm just at San Francisco Airport, about to get a flight down to LA, there it is, for tonight's debate, which has now been cancelled. Cancelled because it's another example that Democrats in this state cannot organize anything. Yet another example of insane Democrat incompetence. They're arguing about who should be on the stage, the LPDs, the low polling Democrats complaining they're not doing well enough to get in the debate. So now they've gone and cancelled it. Okay, this is a really important debate about the future of our state. People want to hear from the candidates, especially in such a crowded field. But yet again, the needs of the insiders, the Democrats, come before the needs of the people. They cannot organize anything. You haven't heard the last on this from me, but this is what we need to understand about California.
Democrat incompetence has to end. Absolutely right, Steve Hilton. Steve Hilton, one of the Republican candidates running for governor. He was invited, so was Chad Bianco, and I think that was it for all the conservatives. No other conservatives or Republicans were invited at this debate that was supposed to happen tonight. But there were a whole slew of Democrats, including Katie Karen Porter. And, Thurman, what's his name? This school superintendent of education, whatever his title is. No, he polled too low. He's in like 1%. Xavier Becerra was not invited because he polled too low, just like 1-2%. So all the ones who didn't poll weren't invited. They were all people of color. So it turned out a whole bunch of whiteys were going to be up on stage, both on the left and on the right. But because of that, I love when Democrats do their little infighting thing. That just makes me so happy when I watch them dismantle and destroy their own party. Just sit back and let them do it. So this big debate and there were watch parties going on. I was invited to several of them, and it was all going to be big. Finally, the Republicans and Democrats on the stage at the same time, debating each other. This is going to be awesome. Canceled because there weren't any people of color. It's supposed to be just the ones who are polling at the top that are going to be invited to this thing, because otherwise you'll have a stage of 278 people. That's why they have to do it that way. But because none of the people of color, like Xavier Becerra, one of the worst people to ever serve in public office, truly just an evil villain, horrible man. But he's running for governor of California, of course, but he didn't poll high enough. So they didn't have enough people of color. So instead of having the debate anyway, they canceled it at the last minute. Steve Hilton was there at SFO at the airport in San Francisco, ready to fly down to Los Angeles to be at this thing tonight. Canceled. Last minute, same day, just this morning, they canceled it. Come on, that's funny. That's funny. Come on, you got to admit. John Graham, let's get him into the mix here on Do Not Talk. I'm looking forward to you meeting him, and I want to hear his stories too. Let's hit it.
Yeah! Woo!
Welcome to the big old bad old broadcast. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great. Hey, I only got about 35, 40 minutes because we got a late start. So let me have it right away.
Okay. Well, tell me who you are. Tell me about giraffe.org. Tell me about your books and some of the adventures that you've had. Let's hear it.
Boy, I'll tell you, my bumper sticker, man, is like I'm lucky to be alive. I've been engaged in wars and revolutions. I've climbed some of the biggest and most dangerous mountains on the planet. Like I say, I'm lucky to be alive. And I've enjoyed all of it. As a young man, I was an absolute adrenaline junkie. Nothing mattered to me but adventures, and the more physical they were, and sometimes the more violent, the better. I mean, I was in the middle of the revolution in Libya when we got when Gaddafi came to power. Then I got sent to Vietnam. I was there for a year and a half, not in uniform, by the way. I was there as a civilian doing a lot of nasty stuff. And being an advisor to the small town city of Hue in the northern part of what was then South Vietnam. Lucky to come out of that with my life, with my head on top of my shoulders as well. Came back to California where you are, and I had to walk down the shadowy sides of the streets in Palo Alto, California to avoid sniper fire. I mean, like I was messed up. But it was also a turning point in my life where I realized that hell, I was like 30 years old, and all that mattered to me was these physical adventures, and nothing else mattered to me. Not other people, not communities, not important things that I should worry about, civic things, community things, national things. The only thing that mattered to me was adventures, and I suddenly realized how shallow that was. So I had to reorient my life, man, and took a long time, and I did a lot of stupid things. But I finally came out the other end, ended up at the United Nations, where I did some good stuff. A lot of problems there at the United Nations, as you know, and what we used to call the third world, a lot of the nations of Africa and Asia, and poverty, disease, violence, corruption, you name it. And I just sailed right into them. This time I was on the side of the angels. Did a lot of good, like I say. I mean, I helped end apartheid. I mean, talk about racism. That was really awful what the white South Africans were doing to their black population for about.
It's every bit as awful as what's happening now with the blacks eradicating and literally murdering and stealing the land of whites.
No, it isn't, and because I was in charge of that for the U.S. State Department, I had a first-hand seat on it. I mean, there were just a lot of brutal murders and jailings and beatings and stuff. And what's happened now, what got President Trump so excited was some of the white farmers were having their land taken away. And yes, there's been some violence on both sides, I must say, because I follow it closely. But don't please don't buy into the fact that what's going on now with some of the whites is as bad as apartheid. Apartheid was tens of thousands, a majority, millions of people who were subject to some significant persecution. It doesn't compare. It's way worse than some of the bad stuff happening to whites. I mean, so let's just keep a balance there as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I don't want to get distracted because we can get distracted in lots of stuff. The fact of the matter is, let's be honest here, is that I'm on the left-hand side of the line. Not a lot. I'm pretty much in the center, but on some things I'm not. But what I can talk about for sure, and then I think I get a lot of agreement from your audience, is my career in military and security affairs. I mean, there's a lot of Republicans in the military, and they're really worried now about what's going on in Iran. Not because they're right wing or left wing. It's not about that at all. It's about the sheer effectiveness of how to fight how to fight a war in far off places. And I agree with some of these guys that Trump is doing a really bad job of it. And I can tell you chapter and verse why. One thing that really disturbs me is, and you don't hear a lot about this, but you know that the Strait of Hormuz, that choke point where the oil has to flow, 20% of the world's oil, natural gas flows through there. The Iranians have blocked it. Trump wants to get it, of course, unblocked. He's having a hard time doing that because the Iranians aren't about to unblock it. But they have really got the upper hand here. Because their land borders the Strait of Hormuz on one side, and on that one side there are all kinds of mountains and caves and stuff where they can hide drones, and their drones will fit into your living room, man, Charlie. They fit into your living room, so you're not going to get rid of all of them. You get rid of a lot of them, but you're not going to get rid of all of them. And it just takes one drone against a lightly armored or unarmored tanker in Bluey.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a mess. The other thing that you almost never hear about is the fact that all the Iranians have to do, we're spending $1 billion a day over there, right? All the Iranians have to do is take a landmine, probably costs them $25,000, not a landmine, a sea mine, and put it out in a fishing boat, and go out in the middle of that strait and dump it into the water, and do that about 150 times, and you got the whole strait blocked with mines, and no ship captain's going to dare going down that strait with mines, and no American destroyer captain's going to want to do that either. And that's why our European allies have told Mr. Trump to take his request for assistance and how shall I put it where the sun doesn't shine, because they don't want to endanger their ships and sailors either. So we're lucky now where Mr. Trump is running out of options because of, I think, and I agree with a lot of our military guys, that the only option left is a land war. The only option left is to take control of the territory, so that we wipe out all of the offensive capabilities of the Iranians. But that means, man, I mean, you ever hear the word Afghanistan? That's what it means. It means getting a land war in Asia. And it's going to be just as bad or worse in Afghanistan. And that's where we're stuck. And so I have some pretty strong feelings. They're not Republican feelings. They're not Democrat feelings. I'm an expert in national security stuff. And I'm telling you that the way this war is being prosecuted just isn't very smart.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. The government of Iran, as it was, which is now either taken out or dead, would have been doing this kind of thing anyway. This was all coming. Something had to be done. Everybody's just talked about it. Well, President Trump finally did something instead of just talking about it anymore.
I agree. What
would have been the outcome if President Trump would have just done like Bush and Obama and Biden and everyone else? Oh, well, yeah, don't stop doing that. I'll never forget Joe Biden going, don't. Oh, for heaven's sake. President Trump has done something about it. He's taken out the government of Iran. So
Oh, yeah,
how long is that?
yeah.
How long is the military going to last there?
Okay. First of all, that's not the way I see it. He's not taking out the government. The new guy, the old Ayatollah's son, is worse than he is. And not only that, but the government is controlled, never has been controlled by politicians. It's controlled by a bunch of really nasty thugs named the Revolutionary Guard. And we've taken out a couple of their leaders, but there's lots of them left. The Iranians have an incredible amount of bench strength. And the Iranian government is still very much alive. And by the way, have you seen a whole lot of uprisings among the people? No, you haven't, because they hate us.
35, 36, 37,000 of them were murdered during that blackout of 3 weeks.
But do you see any sign of them, Charlie? Do you see any sign of them wanting to help the Americans? No, they're all sticking. They've all gone home. Because they hate us as much as they hate their own government. And by the way,
I didn't see them hating us when they were dancing in the streets.
Oh, what now they do? When you kill 175 kids in one of their schools, they don't like that much. And so we're dealing with a lot of stuff I saw in Vietnam. I spent 1.5 years over there, and man, the problem wasn't our war fighting ability. We had a hell of a good military, and there's no question about that. The problem was that there wasn't any political glue there. The people didn't like us. They didn't like the Chinese. They didn't like the Japanese. They wanted to be left alone. You know,
the people who did not want communism did not want to be left alone. They begged us to come in and help. Just like the Koreans.
Well,
we did. We just didn't do it effectively.
That's something else. The Koreans, the North Korea. Let's not get sidetracked here. Let's talk about Vietnam. And all I'm saying is that the reason that Nixon and Kissinger had to pull out was because of lack of American support. And part of it was that the North Vietnamese were, in my view, smarter than we were. They understood that all they had to do was wait us out, suffer, sure. Lots of hundreds of thousands of them got killed in Christmas bombings and stuff. There's no question about that. But all the North Vietnamese had to do, and they knew this, was to suffer and wait until American political, economic, and domestic pressures forced the U.S. administration.
Yeah, that's the Communist Manifesto. You just wait them out. They're always looking. They're always playing the long game, aren't they?
They are.
And we're dictated by the media, or at least we used to be. I don't believe President Trump is. No. I hope he isn't.
Well, I don't think he is either. But I mean, I'm just saying that's you got to admit that's a pretty effective strategy. It was on the part of Hanoi, and it is on the part of the people.
It's definitely worked well for them. Yeah.
So I would say, let's go back to what you said earlier, something which I do agree, that these are a bunch of bad guys over there. I don't have any love for the Iranian people, for the Iranian government. They're sponsors of world terrorism. They're building a nuclear weapon, etc., and they're oppressing their own people. But on the other hand, you have to go back into history and understand that the reason where the hate comes from, you're talking about the hate of the Iranian people, it comes from the 1950s, man. They had a perfectly good government pumping oil out of the ground. We didn't much like the way the oil was going because they were doing things with it we didn't like using a lot of that oil money to uplift their own people. So we
selling it to communist countries at a reduced price than what we were paying.
But it was their oil. Okay, so what happened was we didn't like that. We had good reasons. You point them out. We had good reasons for not liking them. So we got rid of their government and replaced it with the Shah, who turned out to be a real son of a gun. And the people even hated him worse. He was arrogant. He was corrupt. And so what happens? They invite in a new government, which nobody likes. These religious fanatics, the Ayatollah Khamenei. And they take over the country, and now they've been impressing the people ever since. So yes, all that's happening, but don't forget, it all started, Charlie, with us knocking off a perfectly good government. a good government, not in the sense that it agreed with us, but a government that was trying to act responsibly with its oil wealth. We didn't agree with it, like I said, but from my point of view, it made sense. And we knocked it off. And people just don't like foreigners coming in and knocking off their government and inviting people in that they didn't vote for. So,
I wouldn't like it either, but I don't.
So
that's the CIA thing, isn't it? That's a CIA thing. All of this.
CIA thing. Absolutely, it's a CIA thing, and I
hate that.
I do too, of course. But nonetheless, it was the beginning of a hatred the Iranians had for us. And so let's just put this in historical perspective. When they don't like us now, they're looking back 70 years of not liking us. I mean, after all, they put 120 of our diplomats in jail. Was it at the end of the Carter administration?
70, 78, 79, yeah.
Yeah, right.
80.
So there we are. What do we do? Well, what we don't do is what Trump is doing, because militarily, I'm not talking about morality. I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about the military end of this. What he's trying to do using just armed force is never going to work in Iran. You're never going to knock off the Republican Guard. You're never going to destroy every last one of these drones. Like I say, the best drones they got will fit into your living room. They got thousands of them. They can knock off 950, and even 50 of them left was enough to block the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump should have known that. Trump should have known that. He and the Israelis should have known that. I mean, they really thought there'd be an uprising, and it would be like Paris in 1945, where beautiful women come out with flowers and give them to our GIs for kicking the Nazis out of Paris. I think Trump and Netanyahu really thought something like that would happen. They should have known better. If I fault Donald Trump, it's that he doesn't take a lot of good advice. We have some terrific war fighters, some terrific generals who really know what they're talking about and they're experienced. And he's fired most of them because they didn't automatically salute and say, yes, sir, yes, sir. They were trying to tell him that there were things you do and things you don't do in fighting a war. And Trump says, I know better than you do. Well, it turns out that maybe Trump doesn't know better than these generals. And that's the problem. He's trying to fight the war in Iran using just military force, and only a negotiated solution can any possibility of working there. We've got to create a place for the Iranians to exist as a nation and act more responsibly than they have, and that means trade deals. It means getting them to cooperate more with international institutions like the United Nations, stuff like that. Not easy, but right now we have so ticked them off that it's going to be a long time before any Iranian government is going to do anything that we like. We're in a real pickle over there, Charlie, a real pickle.
Interesting. You said we got a lot of great war fighters, and President Trump is not listening to them. I think that we did, and most of them were fired or dismissed or brought up on charges or forced to retire early during the Obama administration. And I think that President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is doing an admirable job of trying to rebuild us to our former glory. But I think that a lot of those great war fighters you're talking about are no longer in the military. They're coming back up again, and we're rebuilding. But I don't. It's almost like when we saw all those protests going on in Iran, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out there protesting against the Islamic government, the tyrannical government, and the Ayatollah. And you're right. I think that President Trump was trying to strike while that was happening, and the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. I think they were trying to strike while that was happening, but it's almost like they just kind of missed it because it got quelled. It definitely got squelched when they shut down the internet. Nobody could even see as they were murdering 37,000 of their own citizens. That has a tendency of toning down what's going on, as we saw with China and Hong Kong, when all those protests against the communist government were happening in Hong Kong, remember? And then there was a blackout, and suddenly there's a whole bunch of people missing, including all the media people.
Yeah, they did all that, no question about it. And that's why the Iranians have no love for that government. They hate it, but they don't like us any better. And like I say, that hatred goes all the way back to the 1950s. And by the way, I got to say something. You can say it. You said I can say whatever I want to say on this broadcast.
Of course.
And
Absolutely.
I think you said that the best generals were sacked during Obama. That's simply not true. And I've been following it, like I say, for 40 years now. What Trump has done is sacked a lot of people for their political beliefs. He's sacked them because they have not automatically saluted when they thought he was doing something that militarily, not politically, militarily was not the smartest thing to do. For example, taking the four minesweepers we had and taking them out of the Gulf just when the threat of Iranians laying mines increases. I mean, like, how stupid is that?
Yeah, why is that President Trump made that call, or Pete Hegseth did?
He made that call, and Hegseth. And, let's face it, we have a lot, like I say, we have a lot of skilled military people, and Pete Hegseth is simply not one of them. He's a Fox News commentator.
Well, he's an accomplished combat Marine veteran too, though.
He is a Marine veteran. That's true. But so are a million other people as well. That doesn't make him a genius as a military warfighter. Like, for example, that phone call where he inadvertently invites a reporter in on a secret phone call involving where our weapons and planes were flying on that particular day. I mean, Hegseth, to me...
That was approved by President Biden, by the way, that back channel that they were using to communicate with each other.
The back channel has been there for a long time, way before Trump. I got that. But most people understood that you could talk about your wife's birthday on that channel. You weren't supposed to talk about the positioning of the weapons you were about to use in the next hour and a half, which is what Hegseth did. So I disagree with you completely. I think Hegseth is an embarrassment to the United States. There are so many other people, right-wing, conservative, MAGA people, who would make a much better Secretary of Defense than Pete Hegseth. He's whatever. I could go on and on, but I think he's an embarrassment.
Interesting. Well, you're right. You and I differ on a whole lot of things, and I don't want to get argumentative with you.
Go ahead, man.
I wasn't planning on talking about these kind of things. I wanted to hear about some of your adventures and your books and giraffe.org.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's check at giraffe.org. I mean, that's something where we have as many fans on the right wing as we do on the left. Why? Because we talk about courage. We talk about looking at stuff going on you don't like and doing something about it, which, of course, is a lot of conservatives. That's a very important thing that they want as well. And what we do is we look around and see problems that aren't getting solved. It could be any kinds of problems. It could be right in your local area, for example, a problem with homelessness, for example, or poverty or whatever, or maybe your streets are clogged or whatever. It could be national problems like we got now in the national politics. It could be huge global problems like climate change or Gaza or whatever. But we find people who are making a difference, who have a strong belief in something. It might be a liberal thing, it might be a conservative thing, but have a strong belief and aren't willing to just sit and let someone else try to solve the problem, but get out there themselves. And what do? We're storytellers. We take these people, get their stories, put them into some pretty effective messaging, short form, long form, social media, whatever. And then we make them as famous as we can. Why? Because other people, and this has been going on for 100,000 years, you know this, that the way to get people to change a culture is not to preach at them. And I think even Donald Trump understands that. You don't preach at them, you give them a role model. You give them models, and that's what we do. We tell the stories of people doing brave things to solve problems, and in that way get other people to get off their rear ends and help solve the problems that are important to them. And we've been doing it for 45 years. Again, you gave the URL. I urge people to go there. We haven't got much time left, at least I don't anyway, right now. But it's giraffe.org. And you can read the stories of over 2,000 of these people that we've discovered in the last 45 years. And they're all great, inspiring stories. We've also developed a program for schools, helping young people develop lives of courage and compassion and effectiveness. And we've got that into English-speaking schools and now Spanish-speaking schools all over the world. We write books and do trainings, helping people learn how to stick their necks out without getting their heads cut off. So I really do urge you to do that. Yeah, there are going to be some people that we honor that some of the people listening to this broadcast aren't going to like because they're on the liberal side of things. But on the other hand, there are also some really brave conservative whistleblowers who see a problem of corruption that nobody wants and are trying to correct things at great risk to their careers or worse. So that's a short form.
Well, if you want to talk about that and being retaliated against for blowing the whistle, let's go all the way back to the Clintons, shall we?
Yeah.
But the fact is, you came on my show not being a conservative as I am, and you're the first. Most people don't, and they won't. And I've had people actually watching my introduction, and then I'll go to them, and they'll be gone. And they just won't even be. They'll just leave. They won't even do the show. That's happened more than once.
You got every right to your opinion. I'll go to the mat for you. And in terms, I watched your intro, and there's lots of hunks of it that I didn't like, that I wouldn't have said. Let's put it that way. But you got every right to say it. And the fact that you and I think, let's call ourselves responsible people. You, me. Clearly, we disagree on damn near anything political, I'm sure. But maybe not. I don't know. We certainly agree on some things, like the need for courage and perseverance and working hard and you know.
Amen to that. When you were in Vietnam, you said you were in the service. What branch?
I wasn't in the service. I said I was.
Oh, you were not
a civilian. So I was engaged in a lot of stuff that you don't want to talk about. Intelligence, counterintelligence operations. We didn't wear uniforms. I was also advisor to the mayor of the city of Hue in the northern part of what was then South Vietnam. So it was a really dangerous place to be. It was only 50 miles south of the DMZ. And so, every day I woke up by not knowing whether or not I was going to be alive the next day. It was a really dangerous place to be.
Wow. And your books. Tell us about your books.
The one I like best is well, first of all, the last one is I just finished is free. You go to my website, which is johngraham.org, and look for Denali Diary. It's a terrific illustrated book on the first direct ascent of the north wall of Mount McKinley, one of the most difficult and perhaps the most dangerous mountain face in the world, taller than anything top to bottom, than anything on Mount Everest. And I climbed it with 6 other guys. It was incredibly dangerous, but we did it. And this is a story of it with some terrific pictures. So Denali Diary. And then there's the memoir, which is called Quest, Risk, Adventure, and the Search for Meaning. And it's got 2 parts of it. The first part of it is where my life was about nothing but adventures, and including violent ones, and a lot of stuff that I'm not necessarily so proud of, because all I cared about was the adrenaline rush. I didn't give a damn about other people, and that was a real mistake.
I have a lifetime of that, and I've got the injuries and the fake body parts to prove it. But I was the same way, very, very into it. And especially if it involves speed, faster the better.
Oh boy, well, you're a race car driver or something?
Oh, sure, I've done that and more. But I've always lived the same way. I just love the adrenaline.
So you see, I'm telling you, Charlie, here's something where you and I agree, right?
Yeah.
You and I agree. We're both adventurers. We both love the thrill. We both understand that thrill of adrenaline. And nobody wants to mess with you. Nobody wants to mess with me either. About the only difference is I'm guessing I'm a few years older than you. Other than that, hey man, welcome.
Right on. All right, my friend, that's johngraham.org, GRAHAM, JOHN, johngraham.org, and check out his books, check out his stuff, and check you out being on Do Not Talk. Thank you, buddy.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, I was delighted to be on this show because I don't get invited to a lot of conservative shows. And I'm delighted because I think a lot of what I have to say is stuff that, people agree on. And you gotta establish trust. If you and I are going to save the planet, which we both want to do, I'm sure, we have to learn to create at least a little bit of trust with each other, right? I mean,
Amen.
you can't. I can't very well deal with you if I really think you're a so-and-so, and you can't deal with me if you really think that I'm a so-and-so. So we have to establish a little bit of trust, to know what you're doing. You have a rich history. I honor that. You have your points of view. I honor that, and I honor all your constitutional rights. And I hope you would say the same for me.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Amen. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
I want to encourage you to please go to my website as well and get yourself some of this, like what John and I just did. Let's talk about politics and religion. And see, you can get all mad and you get all huffy. And he said some things that, that made me bristle a little bit. But I just came back as best I could. But I didn't want it to turn into a yell fest. I wanted it to be civil. And so we did it. Well, you can go to my website, buy one of those mugs, get one of these hats. There's all kinds of hats, shirts, and mugs there, and ways that you can give to help support this ministry, which is ultimately what it is. At CharLeeSimons.com, CharLeeSimons.com. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God.